بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We continue Kitaab At-Tawheed, 7:08 p.m. Wednesday, October 13th. Wow, it's October 13th already? October 23rd, I'm sorry. October 23rd, the year 2019, which agrees on the Hijri calendar of today. Wow. Which today is the 25th of Safar, the year 1441 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam. And again, I reiterate, it's October the 23rd, Wednesday, 2019. It's October the 23rd already. Wow. As we continue Kitaab At-Tawheed, as we started the new chapter of Bab Ma Ja'a Fil Kuhan wa Nahwihim, the chapter which comes in the affairs of Al-Kuhan, which is the plural of Al-Kahin, meaning the one who predicts, or if you want to say, to summarize the meaning of the word Al-Kahin is the one that claims to have knowledge of the unseen. The one to have knowledge of the unseen. And that is a word that is comprehensive for so many different people. As we'll talk about, inshallah, of those who can read minds, or those who predict the future, or those who predict certain events that will take place, or whether they be catastrophes, or they be something that is good, or something that is evil, or what have you. As all of those fall under the category of Al-Kahin, as we'll talk about, inshallah. As we started the new chapter, did we finish the Masail? We finished them? Jayyid. In the previous chapter. طيب. As we move on, like we said, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwas, it says the chapter which comes in Al-Kuhan. Notice he said, those who claim to have knowledge of the unseen and anything or anyone similar to them. طيب. You'll find that the great Imam Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah rahmatan wasi'a wa jazahullahu anna wa anil muslimin khairul jaza'. You'll find that he inaugurated this chapter with the narration, as it says, and it comes in Sahih Muslim, on the authorities عن بعض أزواج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من أتى عرافا فسأله عن شيء فصدقه بما يقول لم تقبل له صلاة أربعين ليلة صلاة 40 يوما. As he inaugurated the chapter with this narration which comes in Sahih Muslim, on the authority of some of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said, Man ata arrafan, whoever goes to arraf. We'll talk about the meaning of arraf, as arraf is another meaning of kahin. فَسَأَلَهُ عَنْ شَيْءٍ فَصَدَّقَهُ بِمَا يَقُولُ. And he asks him about something, and he believes what he says, what he informs him. لَمْ تُقْبَلْ لَهُ صَلَاةٌ 40 يَوْمًا. He said, for his prayer will not be accepted for 40 days. His prayer will not be accepted for 40 days. طيب. So the connection of this chapter to what has come before it, I think it's clear, right everyone? As we've been discussing the chapters in regards to sihr, magic, right everyone? Then after that you'll find that the great Imam put another chapter in the book. I said to sit behind me. No, I want him to sit behind me. Oh, I want him to sit close. Here, sit close. Here, sit right here. Sit right here. Just because of what you just did now, you sit right next to me now. Here, I'll move over right for you. Yeah. Keep my eye on you. So that means you read together. So you have the book now. So you have no excuse. So you have a book to read. Show them where we at. G. So in this chapter, what we discussed previously, what do we say, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, that the chapter before it was in regards to clarifying some of the type of magic, right everyone? And some of the types of magic are, what are they? Number one, Huh? Holler out. Tafadal, I'm sorry. Rashid. Al-Iyafa. Al-Iyafa. What do we say to me Al-Iyafa is? Al-Iyafa. Not just superstitions. Huh? Jayid. How birds would either be restrained or they'll be released, determining based upon that of certain things that will take place in one's life or certain events that they would predict. طيب, another type, what we say from last class? تفضل. I was about to Bilal. Almost slipped. Who was about to say? تفضل. الطرق. أحسنت. الطرق, which is to draw the lines on the ground, or lines will be struck on the ground, or they will use it with their feet. And based upon that, they would try to predict things to happen or to occur as a result of it. Now, what was the third? At-Tiyarah. At-Tiyarah. What is At-Tiyarah? That, even though the Messenger of Allah, we said, using a narration about At-Tuyur, about birds, but however, it generalized any type of superstition or omen or belief in some type of old things that take place of myths or superstitions or what have you, of anything that is what? Seen, heard, or it could be a person. Yes, it can. To deem someone to be a bad omen. Or time, or place. Mentioned this last class. So tiyarah, the word what is used for the birds, even though the Messenger of Allah, you'll find Ahl-Ilm say that he intended a meaning that is more broad than that. Anything that's a superstition or myth. Even though he used the example of birds, because that was more prominent during the time of Jahiliyyah with the Arab. But we know from every country and nationality, they have their own superstitions and myths that they believe in. And everyone you'll find which is inspiration from the shaitan, in which he gives to people in order to connect them with other than Allah. By making them believe that these affairs have some type of effect or impact on their life. And they have no reality, rather they're just absolutely baseless. So we said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, the Messenger of Allah used the word tiyarah, but anything that's considered superstition of what is what? Heard, seen, or a person, or time, or place. Give me an example of what is seen. Yes, so many of them. You can pick your choice. There's a lot of them. Tafadal Suhail.
So you have to
There's a lot of superstitions and myths out there we can see and hear. Tafadal Rashid. Jay, if you see a black cat runs in front of you, people believe in superstitions and bad omens in regards to a black cat. Run past him or her. Tafadal. What is heard? Example of something heard. Tafadal. That's a time. Friday the 13th is a time. Friday the 13th. That's something of being of a omen superstition as far as the time. Like something that's heard. Like for example, certain countries they believe that the barking of a dog at a certain time believes that there's going to be some type of or something evil is about to happen or take place, depending on certain countries, or depending on certain sounds from certain animals. Could be that sound of a wolf or owl or what have you. Certain people have bad omens and superstitions in regards to the owl. And it goes on and on and on and on. There's a lot of them. You could just pick your choice. As far as with people, then we know what happened with what we talked about. Depending on certain superstitions in certain countries, you'll find that people believe that if a person approached you who's blind or can see out of one eye, that means that more than likely my life or my business trade or my business ventures of today will not be lucrative because someone of one eye or one who cannot see except from out of one eye approached me or walked past me. That's a person. People have different superstitions and myths based upon each nationality, background, and country. Everybody has their own type of what? Weird beliefs. But as we'll get into the chapter, speaking about Musa, Prophet Musa, you'll find that the people of Shirk deemed him to be an actual evil omen. There's an ayah in it. There's an ayah. So فَإِن تُصِبَهُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ يَطَّيَّرُونَ بِمُوسَى وَمَن مَّعَهُ أَلَا إِنَّ طَائِرَهُمْ عِندَ اللَّهِ. It's an ayah. It's an ayah. We'll talk about it. It's going to come inshallah. Don't worry. If you notice it says, if something evil afflicted them, يَطَّيَّرُونَ بِمُوسَى. They blamed it on Musa. Like, you're the reason why all these evil things are happening. Meaning, they deemed him to be a what? An evil omen. And those who are with him. So all that's going to come. So that's to show examples of what? To show that evil omens, people used to believe that evil things would occur based upon a person. Based upon what? A person. Time, we already gave time for Friday the 13th is a time. Saying bad things will happen if a person gets married on Friday the 13th. Your marriage will never be successful. That was some from the times of Jahiliyyah with the Arab. If you know in the time of Jahiliyyah, they used to have beliefs that Shawwal, the month of Shawwal, was an evil month. It was a month that a lot of things that would take place which were evil and something very detrimental upon one's life. That's why you'll find, as we talked about during the time of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, that the Messenger of Allah wanted to nullify these beliefs and these superstitions. And that's the reason why he married our mother Aisha in Shawwal. He married her, our mother Aisha, to prove that what? These type of superstitions and beliefs that they have no what? They have no place. They're baseless. They have no effect on anyone's life. And like we talked about before, notice that the Arab in Jahiliyyah, they used to believe in a lot of superstitions and myths during this time, especially in Shawwal. And the Messenger of Allah wanted to prove that to be absolutely what? False. By marrying our mother Aisha in the month of Shawwal, after the month of Ramadan. Is it true? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So that's in regards to a time, place. Place is clear. I think a lot of people believe in superstitions based upon certain things. If you get married, if you marry a woman or if you marry a man at a specific place, it is known that your marriage will not work out. Is it clear what I'm saying? Or if you marry them under this bridge in a certain area, then it's known that your marriage will not be what? Successful. So many different superstitions. Like we said, there's plentiful. But like we just mentioned, the Messenger of Allah in this particular chapter, in Kitaab At-Tawheed, clarified that all these matters are affairs of Jahiliyyah. That's number one. Number two, they're from the affairs of polytheism. They're from the affairs of polytheism. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? The affairs of polytheism, they're connected with it. And they're from the inspiration of shaitan, as we talked about the last chapter, that these are from the ranna to shaitan. It's from the voice of shaitan. That he inspires people with these type of satanic ideologies. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? طيب. So we go on into the chapter, as we concluded the chapter by moving on to the new one, where we said that the new chapter is in regards to giving everyone a little more insight and detail, even though all these chapters are connected. Every single chapter we've been covering, all of them are connected. However, these chapters that we're going to embark upon, explaining, these give a little bit more insight and go in depth just a little bit more than the previous ones. Even though generally he mentioned about magic and the different types of them. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So we talked about the new chapter in regards to the Kuhan, with the word Kahin. As we talked about before, these affairs are all from the affairs of Jahiliyyah. These are from the affairs of Jahiliyyah, from the affairs of pre-Islamic ignorance, where the people and their communities and their societies, these matters used to wreak havoc upon their what? Upon their communities. From the Arab, especially even after the great Imam, Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab himself, When he returned to the Jazirat al-Arab and he started his da'wah, islahiyah, his call of rectification, that you'll find that this is the affairs that ran rampant amongst the people. All of them worship idols. All of them had superstitions, beliefs, and they used to return their affairs back to people who claimed to have knowledge of the unseen. So after those affairs became well deep-rooted amongst the people, then every other evil sin came easy after that. Once Shaitan lays down the foundation of polytheism, and that the people, such as magicians and soothsayers and fortune tellers, are the ones who are dominant, that run the community and the society, and all these affairs have now gained power, or the people cling to these type of matters to solve their problems in society. What comes as a result of it, that any other evil sin will be easy. Fornication, prostitution, eating people's wealth and falsehood, to the end of it, you name it. However, Shaitan starts with planning in the minds of the people, every affair that's connected with polytheism, and every affair that's connected with people who claim to have knowledge of the unseen, and from them was the magicians, the soothsayers, and the fortune tellers. Rather, you will find in the time of the Arab, they used to take their affairs to them, so they can now give them a solution to some of their problems that broke out between the people. They would go back to the people who claim to have knowledge of the unseen in order to what? Give a solution to their problems. As a result of it, it increased the society in more weakness and more chaos and more havoc and more mass hysteria. As we talked about, we said last class, number one, the reason why these magicians, soothsayers, and fortune tellers are very dangerous upon society, number one, as we said, they connect the people and have them tied into other than Allah. I mentioned this last class. Number one, they connect the people and their hearts with being. 2 more minutes. Man. They connect the people with having their hearts connected with other than Allah. So, them starting polytheism and deep rooting it in the hearts of the people is the ultimate crime. There's no crime worse than that one. So that's the first thing, why they're so dangerous upon society. Because now, like we said, every person you'll find that relies on these soothsayers and fortune tellers and magicians, you'll find that they are people, they're always in a state of very heavy anxiety. They're always in a state of worrying. They never relax. They're always in a state of being anxious. They're never in a state of being at ease or having security within themselves. You'll find that anyone that's connected with polytheism, you'll find that the shaitan increases them in more weakness and increases them in more anxiety and more worry. Never feeling secure, never feeling at ease with themselves. And this is from the evils of polytheism. It increases people in weakness. So we said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, for number one, the soothsayers and fortune tellers are very dangerous upon society based upon they connect the people with other than Allah. Number two, what we mentioned in the last class, what was number two? We said, ahsant, for those who also believe in these people, it is also rejecting the ayah in the book of Allah Ta'ala. Due to the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that's laid down the foundation that He's the only one that knows the unseen. No one other than Allah Ta'ala has knowledge of the ghaib. قُلْ لَا يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ الْغَيْبِ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Say, no one knows of what is in the heavens and the earth of the unseen except Allah. So that is another reason why we said this hadith is tremendous, which we're going to talk about in a minute. A third reason why these people are very dangerous upon society, due to the fact that they eat the people's wealth and falsehood. That they eat the people's what? Wealth and falsehood. And you'll find also what comes as a result of people being connected with these people and their hearts being connected with them, it could either lead to the road of killing and murder and bloodshed. And hatk al-a'rad. And also people's honor being transgressed upon, as well as people's belongings, and as well as people's lives. As you'll find that the shayateen out there who inspire people to murder other people. and what could either lead them down that road of what? This type of corruption. These people are very dangerous upon society because, like we said, even with magic, and we know that these people receive so-called inspiration, I don't say revelation, but inspiration from the shaitan, how they can damage and cause severe corruption in society due to the fact that they send the devils and the shayateen upon the people to hurt them and to affect them to the point, like we said, either a person can reach the level of insanity or they can reach the level where they were severely hurt. As a result of the shayateen been given power to dominate upon the one who was sent by the magician to the person in order to harm that mashur, in order to harm the one who's been affected by magic. So this is the reason why you'll find Islam and the beauty of it, why these affairs are so prohibited or highly prohibited, because of what we just mentioned. These affairs are very dangerous, and that's why we read in the ahkam previously in the other chapters that the reason, what would be the result if we was in an Islamic society where the ruler was Muslim, what he would do to the magician or these type of people or the people who claim to have knowledge of the unseen if it reaches the authorities. If it reaches the authorities. Know what I'm keep in mind exactly what I'm saying. If it reaches the authorities. Once it reaches the authorities, the exemplary punishment has to be carried out. But if the one who's a magician, a soothsayer, a fortune teller makes tawbah before it reached the authorities, then that's something different. But if it reaches the authorities and the authorities know about it, then the exemplary punishment will have to be carried out. And we know whether or not of what Ahl Ilm mentioned of the sahir, or the one who claimed to have knowledge of the unseen, is a kafir. We know that the ultimate punishment, if the authorities was to carry out the hukm of Allah, then we know that the punishment is death. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That's another one, know the severity of it. Fine. So as we mentioned and said, and I gave the introduction, we said that the Kuhan are a people. They were in the different tribes of the Arab. The people used to take their affairs back to them in order to judge between them. And the shayateen, from the devils, they used to be connected with the Kuhan because they used to receive inspiration from them, satanic inspiration. And he used to tell them of what was preordained, of what the malaika of the angels probably might have heard of something or someone or something taking place in this world. Of course, we know what they would steal it, as the narration is going to come. They would steal it, and then they would inform the soothsayer or the fortune teller. They would inform him. As we talked about last class, if you notice that all the people of falsehood, whether they be from the jinn or the human beings, have the same type of pattern method, as we talked about last class. The shayateen, the people of falsehood, all have the same type of method. What do I mean by that? What I mentioned from last class, what did we say? I knew it. Tafadal. Ahsant. Notice that the people of falsehood, starting with the unseen shayateen from the jinn, from the people of evil from the jinn. We're not talking about the Ahl Sunnah, or the people who are believers from the jinn. Because we know there are from the jinn who are people of the truth. There are Ahl Sunnah. There are the people of the truth from the jinn. But there are also people of shar, the people of shirk and shar and evil. At any rate, notice in these narrations that we talked about, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, that the shayateen, that they mix with something they heard from the heavens. So what was decreed with 100 lies, which is to let one know that the reason why they mix within that truth 100 lies, of course, is to deceive the people, because sometimes the people, what reaches them is something that was what? True. In order for the people to accept it. And this is the exact same methodology of the people of falsehood of today. In order to deceive the people, what they come is something of the truth. In order to deceive the people, to captivate them, to make the what? What they're saying being fair seeming to them and appealing. Captivate them by some of that truth that is left, but they covered it with a what? They also put around it other lies. Same thing what the shayateen do when they reveal it to their awliya, to those who are close from them, from the soothsayers and fortune tellers. They take the truth, mix a lot of lies with it, and they'll tell the fortune teller. The fortune teller tells the person, and then the person who's listening to the fortune teller's soothsayer, here's something that actually is true, which is to let you know that the people of falsehood from the unseen and the people of the falsehood from the human beings have the same methodology. They all come with something of the truth, mix it with a lot of lies, and the people might hear something that is true, thinking that they're actually what? People of the truth. But in actuality, they're people of falsehood and they're people of evil. But they bring something of the truth in order to captivate the person so they can make it what? Believable. So it can be acceptable. Right. So this is the reason why we said during the time of Jahiliyyah, they would steal something from the heavens which is true, inform the kahin. They will inform the fortune teller or crystal ball reader, what have you. As we know, they would add to this news what they heard or what they received from the news other lies, which we're going to bring the narrations, don't worry. Sometimes they will speak about affairs that would take place in the future. Sometimes they will talk about affairs of certain things that one possesses in other people's houses or homes. To go to such and such place and tell me what is in there. And they will go back and inform them of what is in it, and then they will tell the person, such and such is in your house, such and such is here. And some of it will be what? Actually true. So the people will hear it and what? Believe them and be deceived. Right, everyone? طيب. So now, for example, what takes place, which we'll discuss all the details in it. As far as in regards to what is calculated by what they call al-hisabat, by calculations, we'll get into the details of that, don't worry. However, if some of them was to now inform, for example, that's the calculations, we'll get into that. As a matter of fact, Amir, he's not here. Amir? The other Amir's not here. I think it's time for you then. He's out there? Oh, okay. You seen him? Where is he at? Okay. That's about calculations at the moon and stuff. جيد. Did he call it? Did he call? Oh yeah. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. شنو لا إله إلا الله شنو لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آتي محمد والسيدة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود الذي وعدته جيد. As far as what is attained by calculations, for example, what you might hear in the news of non-Muslims, you will find what they say, for example, there will be such and such lunar eclipse or solar eclipse that will take place at such and such place or will be seen in such and such place. All that we'll talk about in detail, but that's not what's attained by knowledge of the unseen. That's something that's what they retain by calculations. And we'll talk about that in a minute. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about now. Doesn't have anything to do with it. As far as what is attained by calculations, we'll talk about that in a minute. But at any rate, keep in mind that the kahin is the one who informs about affairs of what they call mughayyabat. Mughayyabat. Mughayyabat is affairs of the unseen. Mughayyabat. It doesn't matter. Mughayyabat means knowledge of the affairs of what? Jayyid. Of what will take place in the future, or things that are stolen or missing. This is what the great Imam Shaykh Salih Fawzan says. He says, عن المغيبات من الأشياء المستقبلة والأشياء المفقودة والضالة بسبب أنه يخضع للشياطين لأن الشياطين عندهم مقدرة ليست عند الإنس فهم يرتفعون في الجو ويحاولون استراق السمع من السماء. To the end of it. That's exactly what we just mentioned. He says that they inform about affairs of the unseen, what takes place in the future, or things that are missing or that are lost. He said because the shayateen that they gather and they become subservient, meaning they service certain people, once they draw close to them by something very evil. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the worst thing you can do to draw close to the shaitan, if you want the shayateen to service you, is to commit polytheism. If you commit polytheism, the shayateen will service you. And if you do something very, very wicked and facetious, trust me, we'll talk about that in a minute. Very disgusting and facetious, such as taking the Quran and throwing it in a fire or throwing it in the toilet. All these type of affairs, the shayateen love it. And there are ways to draw close to them. And we'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah, don't worry. So the shayateen, they have abilities that the human beings do not have. As we know, they can what? They can fly in the air. يَرْتَفِعُونَ فِي الْجَوِّ. They can fly in the air. Due to the fact, we know the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ told us that they what? Ascend to the heavens. All the way to the point where they can hear news from the what? From the angels. What's been declared or decreed to take place in a person's life or events that will take place on the earth, as we discussed it. And they inform of what they hear. And they will service the human being as long as the human being, like we said, draws close to them by something evil. But the majority of them you'll find, like we said, are from the soothsayers and fortune tellers, where they actually take news directly from the shayateen, in which the shayateen or the devils heard from the heavens. And then they bring 100 lies along with it in order to what? Deceive the people. However, the shayateen do not inform these soothsayers and fortune tellers or crystal ball readers or palm readers or what have you, unless they obey them, or they disbelieve in Allah, or set up partners with Allah in His worship, or that they carry out something that the shaitan might inspire them to do of something evil and facetious, of disbelief, polytheism, and other affairs of different examples we just gave, some of them, a moment ago. Any type of filthy thing you can think of, killing a person or an innocent bystander, taking their blood and smearing it on the walls, absolute strange things, committing or performing seances. All these are affairs, if you want to draw close to the shaitan, this is how you do it. Going out and committing extremely weird acts of disbelief and polytheism, and which is connected with seances and spells and all those different types of affairs which are satanic. And know for sure, like we said, if a person does this, then he's made himself susceptible now to the punishment of Allah Ta'ala, where he'll be thrown in the hellfire along with shaitan himself. As we talked about this before. As we know, the shaitan are those who draw close to him. Ultimately, on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to gather them all together, and the shaitan is going to free himself from those who worshipped him, or serviced, or try to draw close to him in order for him to service them. All of the people are going to what? Separate themselves. Even the shaitan is going to separate himself from those who drew close to him in his dunya or serviced him. Right. So this is how one will what? Draw close to the shaitan. Anything that contradicts Tawheed, anything that opposes the monotheism and worship of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala. So now, if a person obeys them upon their desires, especially in disbelief with Allah and polytheism, then as a result of it, like we said, in exchange, the shaitan will service a person. And these affairs are very what? Very, very evil, especially in this magnitude. طيب. As you'll find a great Imam, he goes on to say, وَكَانَتِ الْكَهَانَةِ سُوقًا رَائِجًا عِنْدَ الْعَرَبِ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ وَكَانَ الْكُهَّانُ لَهُمْ شَأْنٌ عِنْدَ الْعَرَبِ كل قبيلة لها كاهن يتحاكمون إليه وكانت الشياطين تسترق السمع وتخبر به هؤلاء الكهان فلما أراد الله بعثة نبيه محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم حرتت السماء بالشهب ومنعوا من استراق السمع كما قال تعالى حكاية عن الجن to the end of it. He says that during the time of Jahiliyyah that they used to have markets that was widespread amongst the Arab during the times of pre-Islamic ignorance. And these people who are soothsayers and fortune tellers, they had status with the Arab. Every tribe had its own kahin. They used to what? Judge in their affairs. And the shayateen used to do this abundantly. They used to steal some type of affair that was decreed in the heavens from the angels. He says, until when the revelation started, and right before the advent, or rather when the advent of the message of Allah, sallallahu where revelation was being revealed to him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed the heavens to be guarded by the shooting stars, so they weren't able to what? Steal anything anymore. He said, rather you'll find that the heavens became guarded and protected by the shooting stars. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? That the heavens became guarded when? Who's that? No, when? When did they become real protected? When did the heavens really become protected? When did they become protected? When? So you're not paying attention. Huh?
From what I remember, it's when the shaitan had to get some information.
No, when did the heavens become protected? When the revelation started, the heavens became heavily guarded and protected, where they weren't able to steal. After the messengership or the revelation started being revealed to the messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, huritat as-sama'u bish-shuhub. The star or the heavens became protected by the stars or by the shooting stars. Is it clear what I'm saying? You have that? Patience. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. As a result of it, they became prohibited from stealing anything, the shayateen. Just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, in Surah Al-Jinn, is an ayah that clearly says that. وَكُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنَ يَجِدَ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. It's an ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ. He said, we used to sit, go up to the heavens, and try to listen to what the angels or what was saying amongst them. We used to sit and lurk and try to steal. كُنَّا نَقْعُدُ مِنْهَا مَقَاعِدَ لِلسَّمْعِ فَمَنْ يَسْتَمِعِ الْآنِ يَجِدَ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. Whoever tries to listen now, they find what? يَجِدَ لَهُ شِهَابًا رَصَدًا. You'll find now there was a shooting, guarding star that shoots directly at them to shoot them down. All these narrations, brothers and sisters, is also, if you look at it, it's another way to let you know that Allah is above the heavens. As if you notice the shayateen, if they want to steal some news of what takes place here in this world, what do they have to do? They have to go up. They have to ascend. They have to go up and ascend and hear something from the inhabitants of the heavens. Who are the inhabitants of the heavens, everyone? The angels. So they have to go up. They ascend, and you'll find, and we'll talk about the narrations in this chapter, where you'll find that the tabi'een from the great Imam, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, where he said that the jinn stack on top of each other, and he gives information of a detail how to do it. So that means that they go up to hear something, and as a result of it, something of the truth, that they can mix 100 lies so they can deceive the people. They can reveal them to their awliya, or inspire their awliya from the soothsayers and fortune tellers. So you'll find that these narrations, in an indirect way, is to let you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. Is it clear what I'm saying? Is it clear, everyone? Jayyid. I'm glad you write that down. Write it down, write it down. Tayyib. So this is to let everyone know, especially in Surah Al-Jinn, and we're talking about more details in Surah Al-Jinn, because there's a lot of different details in regards to the jinn and their reality. And we'll talk about how from the shayateen, they are from the shayateen who are from Ahlul Sunnah. They are from the shayateen who are mu'mineen. But there's no prophets and messengers from the shayateen, or from the jinn, excuse me. There are no prophets and messengers from the jinn. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? The only thing from the jinn who inform the people, they're called munzirun. They're called warners. That's it. They warn. فَلَمَّا what it says, فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. That's the ayah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ahqaf. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, he says, فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ, so after the Prophet ﷺ spoke to the jinn on the night, where the Prophet ﷺ met with the jinn. And they heard his recitation of the Quran, of course. And after the affair was concluded, it says in the ayah, وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. So there's no prophets and messengers from the jinn. There are only munzirun, people who give warnings. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. طيب. So here in these ayats is to let everyone know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the reality of the jinn, and from them who are very evil. And these are the people who steal certain affairs of the unseen, of what's been predicted or destined for certain people. They inform those who are close to them from the soothsayers and fortune tellers. He says, after the Prophet ﷺ came, this type of stealing of destiny or divine decree, or affairs that have been decreed or destined, it started to become very, very small, if not all of it was removed. When the revelation started being revealed to the messenger or final prophet to humanity. And then Islam became prominent, and the truth manifested over falsehood. And as a result of it, all these affairs of Jahiliyyah was what? Demolished and decimated, removed totally. However, like we said, when the affairs of knowledge, when it became hidden, as what happened during the time of the da'wah of Sheikh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, as we know, all these affairs of Jahiliyyah returned. Before he started his da'wah, was called rectification. In the Jazeera, in the Arab Peninsula, of what we know, Saudi Arabia, in that area, it returned back to darkness. And all these affairs of people claiming to have knowledge of the unseen and polytheism became dominant again over the land. It became dominant, went back to this darkness. And that's why it was revitalized by what? It was renewed at the hands of the great Imam Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, rahimahullah, where all these affairs were removed again. And he cleansed the Arab Peninsula from these affairs. So that's just to start what we talked about, of giving an introduction about the Kuhan, the people who claim to have knowledge of the unseen, and what was their history. And what you'll find, or what is their true reality. And what everyone needs to know and realize is that they do receive inspiration, not revelation, inspiration, satanic inspiration. And they receive it directly from the unseen devils and shayateen and the jinn. So if you want to now go to a person that receives inspiration from the devils, then that is something that is tremendous. It's something that is very evil, and its roots are very deep-rooted in these type of affairs that are evil. And what's strange upon this occasion is that the non-Muslims are about to have their evil holiday, which is called Halloween. And at the same time, we're talking about these affairs of soothsayers and fortune tellers and witchcraft, all these different affairs that are connected with those who have connection with the unseen devils. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? And upon that same type of occasion, we're speaking about these affairs that's connected with all these affairs. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Right. As we said in the first hadith, in which we'll find that he opened the chapter up, where he said, whoever comes to Arraf, whoever comes to Arraf, I forgot to speak about that. The word Arraf, whoever comes to Arraf, meaning whoever comes to the one who's a Arraf, and the word Arraf comes from the word Al-Arafa, Al-Arafa, the one who informs about the affairs of the unseen by tariq al-hads with takhmeen with dhann. And the Arraf is the one who informs about the unseen in a method of what they call hads, or takhmeen or dhann, meaning a method of him merely guessing, conjecture, or some type of what? Some type of assumption. Hads or takhmeen. Takhmeen means to guess. Dhann is conjecture. Hads is like to assume, what type of assumption. So, the one who's an Arraf is the one who informs about affairs of the unseen by the method of hads with takhmeen with dhann. And the method of assumption or conjecture or what? Or guessing. You'll find that they say that it just means also the meaning of the word kahin. It means the same thing. He just claimed to have knowledge of the unseen. At any rate, the word Arraf, Hasan, the word Arraf meaning a person who informs about the affairs of the unseen by way of conjecture, guessing, or assumption. Is it clear what I'm saying? Or the meaning of kahin, that it means the one who claims to have knowledge of the unseen exactly. So it can mean all these matters. طيب, listen to what Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah mentions about the meaning of Arraf. He said, أن العراف اسم عام يدخل فيه كل من أخبر عن المغيبات سواء عن طريق الشياطين أو عن طريق الحدس والتخمين أو عن طريق الخط في الرمل أو غير ذلك. He said that the word Arraf is a general name which enters in it everyone that informs about affairs of the unseen. It does not make a difference if it's by the way of the devils, the unseen devils, or by manner of guess or conjecture or drawing a line in the dirt or what have you, or other than that. For anyone who informs about affairs of the unseen by any type of method, especially by the way of the shayateen, or by mere conjecture or guessing, or drawing lines on the ground, or reading someone's hand, or reading inside of cups, teacups. A lot of people think that's strange. Yes. As I heard Sheikh Ubaid even said that this was from the methods of trying to look at one person's life or predicting certain events that occur in one's life. By they used to look in teacups. By little drops they might have had in it, and they had a little method of how they would look in it, and they would try to predict certain things that would happen in a person's life based upon it. Huh? Oh. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? There's a lot of different types you'll find. They used to read out of cups, or they would take some clothes of yours, and they would cut a piece of clothes, something someone would wear. And as we talked about, they would go to sleep with it, and then they would try to dream something or visualize something based upon having this person's clothes close to them, and would try to now predict certain things based upon patterns in their clothes or different clothes they would wear. It's so many different types, whether it be voodoo from something of their hair, something of their skin, something of a picture, something of reading inside of a teacup, or something that is a part of their clothes that is what? Ripped off or removed, and them taking it and putting it in certain liquids or concoctants, or going to sleep and try to visualize certain things. The methods are different. Various types. All of it is satanic. And all of it is what? Is evil. And all these affairs are from the affairs of the inhabitants of the hellfire. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Gee. طيب. Like we talked about before, brothers and sisters, we said the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam talked about in these hadith the person that comes to him. What about the Muslim who actually predicts? This hadith all talks about the person who comes to the individual. If you notice in the hadith, what does it say? Who comes to the what? To the arraf. So that's a person outside going into the person who's predicting. What do you think the level of the one who's predicting is? What do you think the level of evil? The Prophet ﷺ said two affairs. His salat's not accepted. The one who comes and listens to acts, and the one who listens to him and believes in him, what he said. Salat's not accepted for 40 days. In another narration, in the last part of the narration, it says he has disbelieved in what has been revealed to Muhammad. Taib. What about the individual who's actually doing the prediction itself? What do you think the level of his sin is? Of course. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? So there's no such thing as a what? A Muslim kahin. There's no such thing as kahin Islami or kahana Islamiyya or such thing as al-arafa Islami or hafz or qira'at al-kaf al-Islamiyya or the person who reads the palm of a person, the Islamic reading of a palm of a person. All these affairs, they do not exist. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? These affairs are very dangerous. And it was so strange as everyone tries to put the word Islamic on everything to make it halal. Everything, Islamic music, Islamic pork, Islamic alcohol, Islamic boyfriend and girlfriend relationships. Just because you put Islam on front of it does not mean what? Change is anything. Islamic fortune telling. There's no such thing as Islamic fortune telling. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? The mere fact that you put Islamic at something at the end of it does not change the reality of it being prohibited. Is it clear what I'm saying? Tayyib. So the Prophet ﷺ will end it off by this because we got to pray. It says, whoever goes to Arraf and he believes in what he says. The one who goes to Arraf and just to merely go to him, then his salat will not be accepted for 40 days. Taib. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ had also said a hadith on the authority of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, which is in Tirmidhi, where he said also, which is similar to this punishment, the one, man yashrab al-khamar, lam tuqbal lahu salatun 40 layla, fantab tab Allah alayh. فإن عاد لم تقبل له صلاة 40 ليلة فإن تاب الله عليه فإن عاد لم تقبل له صلاة 40 ليلة فإن تاب الله عليه فإن عاد يعني عاب يشرب الخمر مرة ثانية لم يتب الله عليه وكان حقا على الله أن يسقيه من طينة الخبال. قالوا وما طينة الخبال يا رسول الله؟ قال صديد أهل النار. Which is in Tirmidhi. And I think it's only authority of Abdullah ibn Amr al-As and Abdullah ibn Umar. Similar to that is a punishment which says, whoever drinks intoxicants, Allah will not accept his salat for 40 nights. Wine, liquor, weed, crack, cigarettes. Yes, cigarettes is a type of intoxicant, whether you realize it or not. It is. Cigarettes, all those affairs. Say it again. Oh, you want to know all the different? You want me to bring you about all the? خلاص. طيب, so no problem. Okay, no problem. Okay. What was you going to ask?
Vaping too.
What did you say?
Vaping too.
What's vaping? Oh, you talking about the cigarettes that the Muslims do? With the big long pipe? That's a form of smoking. Listen, brothers, sum it up. Those long pipes that the Egyptian does, that is a form of khamr. And it's also a form of cigarettes. Yes. I'll talk about that later, inshallah. No problem. Hand down. I got you. We have to finish this because I got first class. طيب. Weed, pills, Percocets, Mollies. The list goes on. You understand? I'm not talking about Percocets if a person just came out of surgery and it gets to the point they just can't bear the pain. But be very careful. Be very, very careful. Those things are narcotics and they're very addictive. They're narcotics and they're very addictive. Percocets, Mollies, all those affairs are considered the worst form of intoxicants. All those big long pipes that the Egyptians that they smoke, what they call, those affairs are all a part of khamr. They're all considered khumur. People do not take these affairs of smoke unless they get some type of pleasure out of it. Right or wrong? If there was a pleasure out of it, they wouldn't do it at all. It gives you some type of feeling of good. It changes your demeanor. We'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah. طيب. So in regards to what we say in regards to weed, or in regards to what's pertaining to pills, or whether it be drugs or liquids, anything that changes demeanor is a form of intoxicant. The Prophet ﷺ said his salat will not be accepted for 40 days. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. It says in the hadith, if a person goes back to it, Allah will not accept the salah for 40 days. طيب. This hadith here, and this hadith that I'm talking about khamr, they breaks down into two types you'll find in regards to these narrations of what they mean as far as the salat not being accepted. You have two things of what you do when you pray or perform an obligation. Number one is the affair of what? Fulfilling the obligation. Is what they call tabri'atu dhimma. Tabri'atu dhimma. Li'ada'i al-wajib. Freeing yourself of relieving yourself of the obligation. Where that has to be performed. What comes as a result of it is the second thing, which is what? The reward you get. The reward you get. Cover your mouth when you yawn. The reward you get. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? The reward you get is the reason why I'm saying this. I know what I'm talking about. The reward you get as a result of an action or an evil of what being removed. طيب. Why I'm saying this is because these hadith, these narrations, is in regards to the person that when he falls into one of these acts, the affair of an obligation has to be performed, even though he might not receive the reward. So in this case, we're saying that you still have to perform the what? The obligation. Even though you might not have received the what? The reward for it. That's the reason why these narrations are speaking about what? The removal of what? Of the second affair, not the first. Where you still have to what? Pray, but you do not get the what? Jayyid. Is it clear? A person reads this narration, a person ignorant, they'll be like, so that means I'll just leave out the salah for 40 nights, I'm good. No, you're not. You still have to perform the what? The obligation. You understand? The obligation has to be performed. But however, what you removed is the what? Is the reward. Alhamdulillah. Oh, somebody say that? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So a person now that falls into this narrative going to the Arraf, what does he fall into? He still has to what? Pray. What he lost out on is what? The reward of it. The reward of it. Lost out. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the act, He will give a reward for it. Or it might be decreased based upon something, as we'll talk about later in certain other actions. Or there will be no reward as a result of it. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So if a person takes intoxicants, does he leave out the salah for 40 days? No. You still have to pray. But however, what you'll be restricted or be deprived of is what? The ajr. It's the reward. As it says in the last part of the narration, Tirmidhi, it says, كَانَ حَقًّا عَلَى اللَّهِ أَن يَسْقِيَهُ طِينَةَ الْخَبَاءِ. He said it's a reward. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. And it's incumbent upon Allah if a person does it a third time and he goes back to drink some toxic again. This narration is very dangerous. It says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept his repentance. I'll talk to him, don't worry, we'll talk about this narration later, not right now. He says, and it will be upon Allah to give him what they call that which is Teenat al-Khabal. They said, what's Teenat al-Khabal? He said, the pus of the people of the hellfire. It will give him, that person, of something of a drink from the pus of the people of the hellfire. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. So let's stop here, inshallah. We'll stop here and continue Friday. As far as the dalil, like I said, of cigarettes being intoxicants, don't worry, I'll give it to you, inshallah. No problem. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's that simple. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to say I'm wrong. I'm not that type of person. Tafadhal. If they don't die? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Tafadhal. No, go ahead. Tafadhal. Absolutely. Here it says 3. We know the general qa'idah of Ahl Sunnah is that he's under the will of Allah. Either Allah will punish him or Allah will overlook him. That's for all other kaba'ir. The thing is about these narrations of you'll find that Ahl Ilm, when they bring these narrations, also the origin is you'll find that Ahl Ilm mention is saying, I remember Shaykh Ubaid used to always mention this. I used to hear this from so many ulama, so many lessons. These narrations are supposed to be left upon what they're left upon. In order for it to be a deterrent for the people not to do it. And the origin is that Ahl Sunnah doesn't make ta'wil of any of these narrations. Meaning that they don't try to, is it major kufr, is it less kufr, or is it going to be in hell forever, or what have you, or he said these narrations are left upon what they're left upon, so they can be have more of an impact for the people to leave off the act. So it could be a severe deterrent for them not to do it. That's the origin of how we deal with these narrations. That's the origin. The only time that we really explain is when there are people that we fear that will now come with some evil understanding, and as a result of it, for example, the people of the Khawarij, and start to now take these narrations and use it to justify their falsehood, to kill innocent people, or to remove them from the fold of Islam. If that fear is there, then we will explain the meaning of these narrations. But if that fear wasn't there, we would leave these narrations upon what they're upon. We wouldn't go into now what they try to explain it, so it won't have that impact that it was supposed to have on the people. So they can refrain from doing or committing these type of acts. You understand? The only time that we said we talk about, or we now start to explain these narrations, breaking down this major kufr, is it minor kufr, or what have you, is if we have the fear that the people might have some type of misunderstanding, where as a result of it, like we said, they'll fall into some type of deviance. That's it. But these narrations, like I said, we mentioned, we leave them upon what they're upon so it can have that impact. Absolutely. Generally, we know they're under the will of Allah. Either Allah will punish them or Allah will overlook them. But these narrations, as they say, خَرَجَ مَخْرَجَ الزَّجَرِ خَرَجَ مَخْرَجَ الزَّجَرِ. That these narrations, that they come in a form as a severe deterrent. And they're left upon what they're left upon, and the also is عدم التأويل. والتأويل هذه الروايات. Not to explain these narrations, but to leave them upon what they're upon. تفضل.
So we discussed the punishment for the one who goes to the order of the soothsayers, and we understand that. Is there any narration that tells us about the one who actually does it? We just left to imagine.
No, we're not left to imagine, but based upon what these narrations says here, you'll find what they call Bab al-Awlawiyya, which is more, if you say from the aspect of the one who's asking for the Muslim, based upon the understanding of this narration here. If the person is doing an act of evil and he's giving it to the person, and the person isn't even just going and asking, keep in mind, what do you think his evil, what do you think his magnitude of sin would be? If you're a Muslim now, and I'm talking about affairs of the unseen, and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in your life. No doubt. Oh, on top of that, we know telling a person of the unseen also is kufr in itself, remove you from the fold of Islam. That's clear. We have ayat in the book of Allah that talks about that. So not only this person, salah is not accepted for 40 days for the person who comes and acts, but the person who now comes and says they have knowledge of the unseen, it's kufr. It's left the fold of Islam.
Some of our students of knowledge about preserving. They said from the scholars that the word khamr deals with anything that alters your mind and body. And they use the ayah from the book of Allah that says, don't kill yourself with your own hand. And on the cigarettes, it says Surgeon General rules that it can cause cancer, etc. The scholars use that ayah and many other ayahs to make the ruling on the fatwa that cigarettes is haram because of the general frame of khamr. And it alters your mind and your body. When you smoke, it alters your liver. It alters things in your body. Some of our students not like in the past, Al-Adib and many have said that with names attached. When I say names, I mean
Inshallah, bismillah, brothers, I'll give the delil whether or not it's khamr. I'll give the evidence and proof. Don't worry. I'll bring it. We'll bring something that's concrete from Ahl-Ilm. And like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I mean? I'm not a person saying I'm going to defend my honor in opposing the truth. I'm not doing that. Huh? Tafadal.
This is just a question for like confirmation. Does the tirah apply to things that people use for good omens too?
As far as the affair of what they call good omens, it's a little bit of details and I'll get into that. It's what they call fa'al. As it says in the hadith, كَانَ يُعْجِبُهُ الْفَأَلْ. But it's something that's real basic. It's not. We're going to get into it. It's going to come. The chat is going to come.
So it's a different term from what we discussed.
Good omens also generally are haram. Considered shirk. There's a little small thing, and when I'm getting to the detail when the chapter comes. Where the Prophet ﷺ says, "Kana yu'jibuhu al-fa'al." I'm going to explain that. A fa'al he used to like a fa'al. But it wasn't connected with something that, it was like, for example, something real basic and simple. Like, for example, so-and-so, I know of today, inshallah, he's going to bring some good. He's known to bring good to us. Like something positive. But I'm going to give it. Don't worry, I'm going to get the details in it. But it's something simple, but it's not connected to say that something's going to happen. Good or bad. I'm going to explain it. Don't worry, inshallah. It's going to come. Tafadal. You asked me like 3 different part answer questions. That's all right. First of all, number 1, is dua answered? Does Allah answer dua of a Muslim or non-Muslim? Jayyid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers both. That's number 1. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer dua of a Muslim and he can answer the dua of a kafir if he's oppressed or she's oppressed. As far as in what regards, just keep building up to something. Just keep in mind that a Muslim and a non-Muslim's dua could be answered. It could be answered. That's number 1. Number 2, in regards to dua, supplication of what a person asks, we know that the Prophet ﷺ made it clear of what he answers of supplication. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers the supplications. We covered this already. He said, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَسْتَجِيبُ لِأَحْدِكُمْ مَا لَمْ يَدْعُ بِإِثْمٍ أَوْ قَطِيعَةِ الرَّحِمِ. That's a narration. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer the supplication of one of you as long as he does not invoke something of sin or something evil or cutting off the ties of his family. Or قَطِيعَةَ الرَّحِمِ. جيد. طيب. As far as whether or not the shayateen hear the dua of a person, Allahu alam. There's not been any narration that affirms, or there isn't any narration that negates that the shayateen hear dua. And Allah knows best. So if that's the case, we don't say anything. Because Allah and His Messenger did not tell us anything. Allah and His Messenger did not tell us anything. And as a result of it, we don't say anything that was what? That has not been given us of any authentic information. So we don't say anything. Just leave it. And as far as supplications, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears all of them. That's the most important thing at the end of the day. Because whether or not the shayateen hear it or not, whether they hear it or not, and like we talked about, there is no narration that says that they do, and there is no narration that says that they do or they do not, or what have you. But we know that affair, we just do not mention anything about it. So stay away from it. It's not something that is detrimental to your religion. At the end of the day, what's important is whether Allah heard it or not. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does hear the dua of the supplication of the person. That was a slip of my tongue, everyone. Rather, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does hear the supplication of everyone and everything. So that being the case, the supplication, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears the dua of the one who's oppressed, and Allah wa ta'ala will answer it. Or maybe Allah wa ta'ala, and Allah knows best, will not answer it. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will what? Will save it as a reward for the person from them making some type of supplication, as long as it's something of good or something that's not cutting the ties or severing the ties of their family. We know that if a person makes dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either answers it directly, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them or removes the evil from them or something similar to it. If that dua will bring some type of harm upon them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take the dua, of course, and give them a reward for it, for the day of resurrection. One of three things. Either answer dua, number two, or Allah will remove an evil that can't come as a result of it, or He will save them for him as a reward on the day of resurrection. That's it. Those affairs ultimately go back to Allah wa ta'ala. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees befitting for the person who does the oppression, or the one who's doing the oppression. And Allah knows best. The main thing is that, brothers or sisters, that we shouldn't raise our hands and say, and make supplications such as, oh Allah, kill so-and-so. Those are supplications of evil. Oh Allah, destroy so-and-so. Oh Allah, kill so-and-so. Oh Allah, kill so-and-so and so-and-so's family. Oh Allah, kill so-and-so's kid. You can't, no, akhi. That's transgressing the bounds. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? The problem is with people these days, they don't know the adab of supplication. Supplication has a lot of adab. There's a lot of adab in regards, there's a lot of mannerisms that a lot of people don't know about supplication, that a lot of people are ignorant of. In regards to, for example, saying, oh Allah, if you will, do so-and-so, if you will. That's permissible. You can't say that. There's a lot of adab of dua. For example, transgression in dua. Oh Allah, allow me to enter paradise where I can have 10 Mercedes Benzes along with 1,000,000 huri'een, and I want a huri'een, and one with short hair and one with long hair, and I want another huri'een that she's light skinned and the other one is dark skinned. That's called transgressing in dua. That's impermissible. You understand? That's what they call i'tida in dua. It's a lot of adab in dua that a lot of people are supposed to know that they don't know. But those affairs of saying, for example, invoking someone to be killed, brothers and sisters, avoid those matters. Just a person is oppressed, he raises their hands and asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to what? To remove the evil from them. If they're being oppressed by a certain person or a certain individual. Just make supplication, oh Allah, guide them, rectify my affairs, and remove my evil from them, from me, of what they've oppressed me with. Guide that person who's oppressed me. Those are the affairs that you should make. saying, invoking and saying so-and-so, or Allah kill so-and-so, or Allah destroy so-and-so. Brothers and sisters, avoid those supplications. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? Leave it alone. Leave it off. Tafaddal. Allah, just like I'm even saying, Allahu Alam. Allah truly knows best in regards. If you know that that person is known to be a person of, if you want to call it, they're always a person that's in opposition. Then those are people that you would kind of like, be questioned about. You say, like for example, Allah says this in the Quran, and you say Allahu Alam. What are you talking about? It don't make any sense. We just said what Allah mentioned in His book. How are you going to say Allahu Alam and Allah just mentioned in His book Allahu Alam? That doesn't make any sense. Exactly. It is contradictive. Allah, the Prophet said the hadith, Allahu Alam. The Prophet said, for example, not to cut the beard, Allahu Alam. That's contradictive. You understand? If it's something in a religion that's clear, you cannot say that. Because it's contradictive. You can't use Allahu Alam in order to nullify something Allah has clearly laid down and established in His religion. You can't do that. You understand? Now if they say Allahu Alam at the end after something of what they see as a position of what is evidence that might be on both sides, is grabbing towards either this side or that side, and that's only in certain small affairs of fiqh, and you say Allahu Alam, that's respectable. Or if a person is answering a fatwa, you find a lot of ulama, just in case, if they make a wrong ruling, Allahu Alam. Just to be safe. But if it's something that's clear, as the sun in the sky, of text, then that's extremely weird, and that's contradictive. You can't say, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He knows everything in the heavens and the earth, and you say Allahu Alam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says khamr is haram, Allahu Alam ya akhi. Huh? It's contradictive. It doesn't make any sense. You understand? It's Father, because we got to pray soon.
As far as intoxicants, like things that contain something that would be considered intoxicant, like somebody cooking with like wine or something like that, or mouthwash.
Say it again. Say it again.
Like mouthwash or something that has alcohol.
That type of alcohol, that's what has to be investigated. Because people have told me there's different types of alcohol. Not all alcohol is the same.
Yeah, I mean like,
As far as in regards to, for example, mouthwash or things of that nature.
like people that cook with wine or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Say like, oh no.
He does have a lock on it. Huh? What did you say? I know. Huh? Tafadal.
Yeah, I was asking like, is that considered like impermissible?
Like, for example, rubbing alcohol that you put on a wound. You say it's impermissible? You say no. I mean, yes, you can use it. That's what I mean. Rubbing alcohol that you put on your skin for a wound or for a sore. Are you going to say that's khamr? No, that's not khamr. That's not alcohol. That's not intoxicant alcohol. It's not. All alcohol is the same, brothers and sisters. If you consume alcohol, in the manner if you drink it, and it's ala sabil al-ladha, it's in a manner where you're trying to get enjoyment out of it. It changes your mindset, changes your mind frame, changes how you are, as far as your mind and how you think. It's khamr. It gives you a high, a stimulation. You're doing it in a manner that you're trying to get pleasure out of it. That's khamr. You understand? As far as rubbing alcohol or certain those matters, that's not khamr. But you put it on a wound. That's not what you call khamr of intoxicants. Because brothers and sisters, if you open that door up of not knowing what's khamr and what's not, or if you put in everything all the same, you'll fall into a lot of chaos. You will. And you'll start saying, well, I'm not going to use that alcohol because I'm not going to put it on my wound because that's khamr. That's not the type of khamr, that's not khamr of an alcohol of putting it on a sore. Is it clear what I'm saying? It's not khamr. Brothers and sisters, we got to stop. Ask me at the salah, because we got to pray. Ask me at the salah. At the salah, because we got to pray. We got to pray. Let's take Suhail.
So when you were saying about drugs and stuff, that's impermissible. When let's say you have to get surgery and have to put you asleep, or have to do a numbing drug or something, is that impermissible?
No, that's not what we're talking about. That's طيب وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.